So real quick, I just wanted to go over an idea I had. We were talking about not trading about the money and just trading for the process, and Jay was talking about units and all of that. And I guess I kind of had an idea, which we kind of already have thought about this, but this is just something that I feel like we'll want to do more in the future. And it's like we have a process for how to trade, and we have a process for to how to manage the trade. And so, like, say you had 10 different breakouts. So you had 10 different breakout trades. And how do we manage that breakout by not trading with our money, but trading with the process? But then you also want to trade with the art of it, right? So the art of it is what potentially will make us a little bit more money, maybe lose us a little bit, but maybe make us a little bit more money. Whereas the process is what saves us and keeps us from making that kind of consistent money and not being emotional and thinking about the money. So, like, for example, say this was the open right here, and say we had 10 different opens and all of them were breakouts, okay? Most of them, all 10 of them are going to go up. And so, and before that, we say we have a process for, okay, is it a breakout, right? So, and say we had a process that gives us 10 breakouts, and that process might consist of, is it a higher time frame daily range? Is this on the top of it? Is, yes to all of 10 of them. Does it open with higher than 200% RVOL? Yes, et cetera, et cetera. And say we have a whole process for if it's considered a breakout or a breakout setup. And so all of those parameters are met, and let's just say that all 10 of them hit and fire correctly, and they're all 10 breakouts. So that's like one process just for the sort of like the, not necessarily the entry, but like the bigger, higher time frame setup for us to potentially trade it is a process that's for that. So then the next thing is, okay, so they're all setting up. We're preparing for 10 of these, and if it gets above this level here, it's pretty much a breakout. And so then how do we manage it? So then so this next process is sort of taking the money out of it. To me, we would then say, what are our variables? Like, how do we get in on all 10 of them? Like, so first of all, okay, so we have 10 breakouts here, right? So I just wanted to talk about that because we know that price is going to go from here and it's going to go up, and they'll all maybe end up at different areas, different kinds of breakups, different degrees, and different severities. And that's where, we can't trade based on P&L. We have to trade based on the process. We might use variables like ATR, the range of the ATR, right? We might use variables like RVOL for how far we think it's going to go through the ATR in relation to its RVOL. We might use, is there a substantial daily level? Is there climactic volume that kicks in? So we have all these very common, very important variables that alone are only clues, but together they become more and more confirmation, right? So we have all of these, and most of them we know, but some of them we like more than others. So like for me, I've been using this ATR range a lot. I draw it on the side, and so I always see it, over here while I'm watching the candlesticks. And then I've been really getting into the 15% ATR stop, which is like a 1/6 of it. And I use that to kind of give it its kind of leeway, so, and I'm really feeling like those are things, and RVOL, those three things I'm really using a lot of. And I'm really finding that I don't have an edge in them yet, but I think I'm getting there. So again, so we have 10 breakouts, and we have all these variables to use, and what are the ones that we uniquely like to stick to, that we feel comfortable with, So because, we might have a breakout that happens just like this. We have a great move right off the open, then it flags, then it moves up again, pulls back, and then we have another breakout, and we have some good VPA to go with it, etc. And then maybe ATR is right here, right? And let's say it gets all the way up to 1 ATR. And so our process would say, Well, as soon as you get up to 1 ATR, you take off about 60% of your amount, right? So a large portion. This is probably might even get you to goal here because you might be at 3 or 4R here. So you take off 60%, and then the remaining 40% is, you want it to maybe pull back, and then it's for like the second half of the day, as long as it stays above VWAP. The second half of the day, we get a second play and one more leg up, and maybe we'll add in and get another amount, and that's one set. So that's one breakout. We know other breakouts might happen like this, where shoots up, pulls back to the opening price, comes up again, maybe up to the top, pulls back, and what do we have? We have a compression, right? We have a nice little compression breakout, and then it breaks out, and then we have some VPA, and then from there, let's say it keeps going, right? Then it goes up, we have crazy awesome volume, then it flags, then it goes up again, flags on top of ATR, maybe there's a daily level here that lines up with it, and it goes long. So we might have two different breakouts here. There's 10 breakouts, but they're all uniquely different, and you can see how you just have a different kind of setup every time within the breakout, and that's where we can't trade based on our P&L so much, because we're probably not going to trade all these correctly, or we're not going to trade them consistently. This might get me more excited, and I might add in heavy, and maybe I'll make a big trade. But then maybe this one, it'll get so far ahead of me that I started with a small amount, gets so far ahead of me, I don't like adding in this tight, and maybe I just end up holding it, gets all the way here, and that's the whole move, and I've only made like a 2R trade, whereas maybe my process, so say my process was to do a small risk for the initial breakout, and then I like to add in for my heavier add on a pullback, but the pullback has to be within the first 25 percentile of ATR. This is 50% of the ATR, so I don't like to add in here, because I feel like 50%, especially within the first 10 minutes, is a little bit too fast. And a lot of times with these, on my process, says that a 50% move too fast has a larger pullback and can take longer, and maybe isn't as strong. So say my process was to get in small here, and I just hold this, and I only end up getting 2R because it didn't pull back enough, didn't get back to my 25%, and I end up just holding it, and then I get 60% out, and I make like a 2R trade, and the whole trade for the rest of the day ends up being like 2.5. Okay. But say I see this other breakout, I do it the same way. I get in small here for this initial entry, and now it's compressing right up against a quarter of my ATR, and it's giving me a nice compression, which I know leads to potential ATR breakouts. So I know, hey, this is my perfect add-in. So I add in, somewhere on these higher lows, or right here, or even the pullback, right? So I have three different spots here, here, or here, but I'm convicted in all of them. And all of them are going to give me higher risk, and they're going to give me a bigger reward. But it's according to the process, right? It's within the first 25%, and it's giving me that. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, so then this trade ends up making me a whole lot more, because, because I got my add in, and it makes it all the way up to ATR, our partial 60%, and then it gives me another compression later, and or it doesn't, but it keeps going later, because maybe this breakout is a better breakout, and I end up partialing heavier up here, and this whole trade ends up making me 5R. So that is kind of an example of just two of them, but how I use the same system to enter and to partial based on my rules. And some of these are just not going to give you as many R's, and that's okay, because you followed your process. But then when you have one of those really good ones, where then you get that, this example is honestly probably the best example, because it not only is fitting the earlier first 25 percentile of the ATR, but it's also giving me one of my favorite patterns that leads to breakout. So it's a breakout breakout. It's another breakout within a breakout. So really, I probably would add in even heavier than a normal add. So this would be the art of it, which is, okay, I follow the process, but there's a little leeway in here, and that's when I have my 10 out of 10 setup, which is this one. Then I add in maybe an extra half an R or maybe another R, which then leads to 10R total at the end of the day. Sure, I was risking more, and maybe had it been a failed breakout, or maybe this took longer and it didn't break out just quite yet, it had to pull back a little bit, or maybe there was breaking news in the market and it pulled it down and it just kind of faded for a large part of the day, or maybe it did fail, broke through, and then something else happened because of breaking news, and you ended up getting negative 2.5 R. But you keep getting 10 of these over time. The majority of them will work, and you'll get 10R, 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 negative 2.5R, 10R, 10R, and then it works out. So I guess I'm just like, these are just two examples, but this is like what we'll want to do in the future. And we should all be able to explain to each other what our rules are. And but I think exercises like this are really good. Like this is just a breakout. We all have different trades that we like VWAP pullbacks, etc. And we should have specific variables and processes for how to trade that. And we should trade it the same way over and over. And we do that, then we'll get those, then we won't focus on P&L so much, and we'll focus on the process. And we keep doing that, and that's how you refine the process, and then that's how you find that edge. So I think we should all do these exercises. Like we should all do 10 breakouts in a row. And you can either go find 10, or you can just draw them out and go over different variables, and you'll probably come up with all kinds of shit on your own. And then do like a daily range, a failed breakout, and then back to the bottom or back to the top, and do 10 of those in a row, and then look at the time frame that it takes to do it. So there's 10 of them. Well, how long does it take? Well, it seems like it could take up to 5 hours. Sometimes it happens in about 2 hours. Okay, there's your 2 to 5 hour time frame, and that's one of your variables. Is it's going to take 2 to 5 hours for these ranges, and I need to not give up on the trade under 2 hours. If it's taking a long fucking time, is what I'm saying. It's been an hour and a half, and you just got in right here on the breakdown, and it's been 2 hours, and you're like shit, and you want to add in. Nope. Your process doesn't say to add in. Your process says to wait up to 2 hours and then reassess. So what do you do? You keep waiting, and sure enough, right before the second hour, you get another breakdown, and you're like, okay, this is playing out. And then maybe the next half hour, it really starts to move, and then you eventually get that move down. And then your other process is, once you get, say this is a full ATR, and let's just say once you get to 75% of an ATR, once it passes it, as soon as it pulls back a new 5-minute high, you're out. And you just cover everything. Or, if it gets down to your target, then you take out 75% or whatever. But you do that over and over. So you do 10 of these range trades, 10 over and over. Maybe go look for them, or you can draw them out and come up with these ideas and just stick to them over and over. And then you're not focusing on the money. So let me know what you guys think about this. This is probably redundant, but I do think that this is what we sort of need to do right now or in the future, and then eventually, once we get good enough, this stuff just becomes habit, and it's just kind of intuition, and we can just look at we can review our chart and say, well, I didn't follow this, and this, and normally I like this and this, but say we don't have these exact variables yet, we need to write them down, and then we need to live by them. And we can help each other too. Like, Kyle, if you if you want to say, okay, I really like these range trades, these daily range trades. UAL is down at the bottom here. I really like to get long for the up. Okay, well, let's go over a shit ton of daily range trades. Let's find out what are the common variables in them. How long do they take? What's the ATR? What is the RVOL? And we'll just make up shit and we'll see, are those variables actually common and you know, have higher probabilities in them? And if they do, then we'll stick to those exact ones. And then we have something to compare it to and to say where we fucked up at. Because otherwise, dude, we might get really good at these daily range trades, and you might get so good that you might hit 6 out of 10 of them, and you want a partial here, but really 6 out of 10 of them are going to get here, and then you end up getting 10R instead of, if you get out because of your P&L decision, you only make 4R. You see what I'm saying? So like, the point of doing this is so that we don't get out at the 4R, we get out at the 10R. And I know it's easier said than done, but like, I think that with us four together, we can counterbalance each other and we can critique each other. And every day when you show me a trade review, I'm gonna be like, does this fit your criteria? You don't know your criteria? Well, then we need to stop trading. We need to go back and we need to figure out the fucking criteria. And then you start trading it. And then you have something to base it off of.